One day, Babar, the king of the elephants, said to old Cornelius, "Take this message and read it to all my people." Cornelius puts on his full dress uniform and reads this message to all the elephants of Celestville. "When you hear a cannon shot, you'll be frightened like as not, but it won't mean that war's begun. It means King Babar has a daughter or a son." Babar is so excited about the little baby that's to be born that he can't keep his mind on anything. So Celeste urges him to go for a ride on his bicycle. Babar rides to the top of the hill and sits down to admire the view. And at that very moment, the cannon goes off. Babar starts for home. He hears another shot, and a third. Babar can't understand why there have been 3 cannon shots instead of 1. He rushes home as fast as he can, and Celeste smiles and proudly shows him 3 little baby elephants. Babar says, "I expected that we'd have a daughter or a son, but what a surprise to find 3. They all look just like you, but the littlest one looks just a little like me. Like me, tee-hee. The littlest, a little like me," Celeste says. "Why, Babar, my darling, you know that it's true. They all look exactly like you. The boys have your courage and spunk. The girl does have a dimple like me. But they all have your ears and your trunk, the dears. They all have your ears and your trunk." Now it's time to name the baby elephants. What name shall we choose? Tom, Pat, or Peter, Percy, Julius, John, or Jim? Austin, Algie, Alexander, Thomas, Ted, or Tim? Dottie, Drew, or Doris, Dolly, Abby, Alice, Ann? Juliet, or Janet, Jenny, Flora, Faye, or Fran? Oh, it's hard to decide on a name for a baby. You can draw straws or ask your in-laws. Oh, it's hard to decide on a name for a baby. Course you can look in the telephone book, but if one idea is better than another, we'll leave the matter entirely up to mother. Oh, it's hard to decide on a name for a baby, and 3 times as hard for 3. Well, the triplets are finally named Pom, Flora, and Alexander. Babar bounces Pom on the end of his trunk. Flora stands up, but down she falls kerplunk. Cornelius ties a rope to the end of each tusk and swings Alexander from dawning until dusk. The nurse takes Pom, Flora, and Alexander out for a ride in their big carriage, and Arthur, their little cousin, goes along. The nurse says to Arthur, "Will you look after the babies while I'm gone?" Arthur is very glad to be trusted and proudly pushes the carriage. 20 feet forward, 20 feet back, wheeling the carriage, I've got the knack. Triplets are cunning, they love to go sunning. 20 feet forward, 20 feet back. Suddenly, Arthur hears soldiers parading. He turns to watch them and lets go of the carriage. The path is slightly downgrade, and the carriage begins to roll off by itself. Arthur runs after it. The carriage rolls faster and faster, and then Martha the turtle, who was out for a stroll, throws herself under the wheels. The carriage stops so suddenly that Pom and Flora are jolted backwards, but poor Alexander is thrown out head first right over the cliff. He lands in a tree down below. He calls for his mother in a frightened voice. "Help for an elephant, a little baby elephant, who has fallen up into a great big tree. Help for Alexander, little baby Alexander. Alexander, you remember, mother dear, that's me." Mr. Squirrel, who lives in the tree, sees Alexander and says, "Steady, little elephant. Wind your trunk around my tail and just follow me down the branch." Just then a big giraffe strolls by and reaches his head right up to the branch. He says, "Now, little elephant, dry those tears. Sit down on my head right between my ears. Home I'll carry you safe and sound, then I'll lower you right to the ground." A few months later, the royal family goes on a picnic. After enjoying a delicious lunch, Babar goes fishing. Alexander takes Cornelia's derby hat. He puts it in the water like a boat and steps in. Hooray! It floats. Well, what do you think of that? Of all the different kind of boats, the best is a derby hat. Hooray! It floats. Well, what do you think of that? The hat drifts far off from the bank, and then it capsizes, and Alexander falls into the river, right to the bottom. Babar dives in after him and pulls Alexander up by the ear. That night, when the children are all in bed, Babar says, "Oh, Celeste, my darling wife, children complicate our life, for we never know what else they have in store. But I'm sure you must have guessed that I love 'em so, Celeste, that I couldn't live without them anymore."